Good day, it is Althea from the Bible in 1 Year. Today we spend time in Genesis 15, the everlasting faithfulness of God. This chapter has two closely related sections and a covenant. Verses 1 to 6 focus on Abram's concern about being childless, and verses 7 to 21 describe God's promise that Canaan will belong to his descendants. Abram's faith in this fulfillment is based on God's earlier promise in Genesis 12, verse 2 and 7. The chapter concludes with a covenant confirming these promises. In verse 1, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, showing a profound and purposeful divine encounter. Such encounters can be intimidating, yet God addresses Abram's fear and doubt, saying, "Fear not, I am your shield. Your reward shall be very great." Divine encounters often bring transformation, revelation, breakthrough, healing, or fulfillment of God's promises. God has promised Abram twice before in Genesis 13 and 14 that his descendants would be numerous. Many years passed and Abram remained childless. Boldly and honestly, he expresses his frustration in verses 2 to 3. In a third promise, verses 3 to 5, God assures Abram he will have an heir from his own body. Abram believed in God, and it was credited to him as righteousness, doing right in regard to God and man. Genesis 15, verse 6. This key verse is quoted 4 times in the New Testament, in Romans 4, verse 3 and 22, Galatians 3, verse 6, and James 2, verse 23. Faith requires personal trust, while unbelief can lead to disobedience. Faith and obedience leads directly to God's promises. God also promised the land in verse 7, though it is occupied by 10 nations, in verse 19 to 21. Abram asked for proof, and God makes a covenant, verse 9 to 17, a binding vow, a pledge to act truthfully. Jeremiah 34, verse 18 to 19 explains the self-curse. If not fulfilled, one would become like a dead animal. The ritual symbolized Abram's descendants, the sacrificial animals, and their enemies, the birds of prey, while the fire pot and torch represent God's presence, to be in their midst after the Israelites came out of slavery in Egypt. God reveals part of his 400-year plan. After 400 years in Egypt, the Israelites would leave with great possessions of clothing, gold, and silver jewelry. Exodus 12. God waited because the iniquity of the Amorites was not yet complete. Verse 16. They worship false gods and commit numerous other sins. God promised to remove them from the land as an act of divine punishment. Psalm 103 verse 8 says that God is slow to anger, abounding in compassion and loving kindness. This promise was fulfilled in Numbers 21 and Joshua 10. God works through specific ways, people and time frames to bring glory to himself. During this time, we read about many examples of God's wisdom and might through Joseph, who was sent ahead of time to Egypt to care for Israelites during a severe famine, Genesis 37 to 50. This time frame includes Moses' rise to leadership and many great miracles performed by God, like the crossing of the Red Sea, water from the rock, manna and quail in the book of Exodus. Verses 18 states, "On that day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, 'To your descendants I have given this land.'" This promise is fulfilled in a conquest led by Joshua and fully completed under King Solomon, who ruled from the river of Egypt to the Euphrates. Although Abram did not see the fulfillment, God's faithfulness proved he is trustworthy. loving, holy, just, merciful, and unchanging. He is all-powerful, all-knowing, and present everywhere, a compassionate, faithful, righteous Creator who rules over all. May you be blessed. Goodbye.